Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Last night, we talked a little bit about Ghislaine Maxwell and the deposition that she's trying to get blocked. And that was from last week. Thursday was when that filing occurred. But like I was talking about in the previous episode, we were caught up with what was going on with the update the prosecutors were giving to the survivors and the absolute shit show that was the Department of Justice internal report. So this article is another one that I had pulled last week and planned to get to over the weekend, but obviously with our deeper dive into what happened with the Department of Justice, etc., I wasn't able to get to this article yet either. But this morning is the perfect time, and we will add it to the catalog. This morning, we're going to take a little hop over the pond, and we're going to check in on the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family and see what this moron is up to this time. Our article this morning is from The Sun, and the headline is, "Andy's out. Prince Andrew will never return to royal duties, even if he speaks to U.S. officials over Jeffrey Epstein links." This article was authored by Alex Winter, and the article came out on November 13th. So that headline, huh? Shocking to anybody? It shouldn't be. The whole idea that Prince Andrew, aka the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, was making this grand and luxurious comeback to royal life was laughable at best to anybody who's been paying attention to this story. And I am the furthest thing from a monarchist, right? I don't know shit about the monarchy, but I do know that his brother and his nephew want nothing to do with this moron impeding on their upcoming rule. So they're going to let this idiot back into royal life with all of these allegations hanging over him, with the fact that he had this relationship with Epstein in the first place hanging over him? Zero chance. Zero chance. This dude's lucky that they aren't stashing him in the London Tower and letting him rot up there, or sending him to some far-flung province at the very edges of the empire, because that's what would have happened in the old days for this embarrassment. This guy's an absolute buffoon. When the reports first surfaced that, Prince Andrew might be making a comeback, I laughed at it heartily, because there's zero chance it's going to occur. Not even his mom at her advanced age is going to make that mistake. This dude's done. No matter what happens from here on out, he will never, ever be a working royal, whatever that means, ever again. So for all of you 7 Joe Exotic of the Windsor family supporters out there, get ready for basically a nuclear winter for you and your guy. The Queen's second son faces a future in the wilderness after he stepped back from official arrangements a year ago. That's pretty funny that you say wilderness, because I think that would be a fitting place for him, right? Put him on his horse, let him put on some of those fancy spurs of his, and then he can ride his horse into oblivion. Because nobody cares about this dude. Nobody wants to see his face. Nobody cares what he thinks. And all he should be doing at this point is speaking with investigators about the allegations, the serious allegations, that are laid at his feet. He took a back seat after a disastrous BBC interview over his links to the late financier, pedophile. A back seat is an understatement. The dude he might as well have been in some sort of hiding, right? Because he was nowhere to be seen for a while. And still to this day, besides, floating a few ridiculous ideas about him coming back into so-called polite society, the guy's a non-factor. He means nothing. And the fact that the only thing that's protecting him right now is that he is royal blood, quote unquote royal blood, whatever that means, it's disgusting. This dude puts his pants on like everybody else in the morning. I don't care who his parents are. The allegations against him are so severe that he needs to answer for them. However, in recent weeks, he's been visiting his mother under cover of darkness as he plotted a return to public duty. Well, of course, look, he's going to try and exploit Mummy, right? His mom always had a soft spot for him, according to all of the historians, and he figures that this is his in. He knows he doesn't have much longer to try and weasel his way in to the family, back into the family, because once his mom's gone, then it's a wrap for him. He has no chance, right? He's going to be brought back on during the coronation of his brother? Yeah, right. Zero chance. So his only shot, and it's a Hail Mary at best, was to try and persuade his mom, the queen, to let him back into polite society. And it looks like his advances, even to the Queen Mother, have been rebuffed, even though she has such a soft spot for the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. The scandal-hit prince is said to be confident he will be cleared of any wrongdoing over his links to pedophile Epstein and is arranging a comeback. Talk about being tone-deaf and not being able to see the forest through the trees. This is what happens when you're born in purple, right? When you're royalty and you have everything handed to you and everybody is yesing you to death and nobody's ever challenging your harebrained ideas or telling you no. This is what happens. You become utterly out of touch. And that's what we see with the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family and his designs of making a comeback into so-called polite society. It is ridiculous on its face. But sources now say that even if he speaks to U.S. officials, this is unlikely. Oh, sources now say, huh? Well, this source, quote unquote, has been saying that from the very beginning. There was no chance. This was disinformation floated by Prince Andrew's own people, and it was attributed to someone close to Andrew. Well, which lawyer was it? Or which PR representative was it? It wasn't just someone who was close to Andrew who was floating that. The same way Ghislaine Maxwell was trying to manipulate the media through Goldman. That's how these people operate. They have stooges, they have operatives, and they have many people that they can manipulate due to the power that they have and the status. And a lot of these people you see that run these sorts of disinformation campaigns are people that want to get closer to that power at all costs, even if that means hopping in bed with a bipedal serpent like Maxwell. The prince has so far not spoken with law enforcement officers in America, although prosecutors in the country have repeatedly urged him to. This is as much about judgment shown over the issue as the allegations themselves, one source told the Daily Mail, and that's important, right? It really is a significant part. Now, someone like Prince Andrew, who is operating on the public's dime, should be held to a different standard than other people, right? Not only is he a representative of the English people and the great English nation, but he is also supposedly a royal. He has to live up to a higher standard. And he did not do that with his judgment here. He did not do that with his relationship here. And he certainly has not done that by not speaking with authorities. He talked about being honorable, and he has been everything but. Even if the Duke were to resolve matters satisfactorily over Epstein, there is still an issue about his lack of understanding over the seriousness of the situation and not accepting that the relationship was wrong. And that's a huge key for me as well, right? Obviously, the 500-pound gorilla in the room are Virginia's allegations against Andrew, and they're damning, and they're very credible. But even without those allegations, Andrew would be facing this sort of public backlash because at the end of the day, he needs to do a better job about his decision making. And that goes for all of these people that were around Epstein: Bill Clinton, Jess Staley, Leon Black, Glenn Dubin, Les Wexner, you name it. All of these people, Donald Trump, every last one of these people that was around him. The 60-year-old has faced down claims of his relationship with Epstein, who killed himself last year while awaiting trial on child sex trafficking charges, allegedly. The prince was allegedly particularly close to Epstein's British girlfriend, co-conspirator, fellow child abuser, general all-around scuzzbag and bipedal serpent, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was arrested and charged earlier this year in connection with his crimes. Well, we know how close they were. They were close enough that Ghislaine Maxwell had access to Buckingham Palace. They were close enough that Ghislaine Maxwell and good old Joe Exotic of the Windsor family were having picnics a stone's throw from the Queen's bedroom window. So yeah, I'd say they were pretty close. He has been accused by one of Epstein's survivors, Virginia Roberts, of having sex with her when she was just 17. The allegation has been denied by the prince, who says he can't even recall meeting her, although a photo shows them together. And again, I can't give anyone the benefit of the doubt that won't even admit the basic facts of the case that we already know for sure to be true. If he's not being truthful about ever even meeting Virginia, then how can we believe anything that he says after that, considering the evidence we have, the picture, the corroborating witnesses, etc., all of the receipts? So how can anyone believe this man? And if you do believe him, well, there's only two things that are occurring in my opinion. One, you have some sort of CTE, some sort of trauma to your head from falling or being bludgeoned. Or two, you're just a troll-ass weirdo. And I think there's a lot of two running around, especially on that cesspool called Twitter. It's understood the prince was hoping to return to public duties as early as next year. Well, that's funny because I was hoping that all of this dystopian nightmare that I find myself living in would go away tomorrow. But here we are. Shit in one hand and wish in the other. And then you tell me what you have more of. But royal insiders describe these reports as kite flying, making a suggestion to see how others react to it. Bingo, that's exactly what it was. To try and throw it out there in the media, to see the public reaction, to see how things looked. You know, when they talk about dipping your toe in the water, that's exactly what they were doing with this nonsense. One royal insider said, the reality is that there is no negotiation of a new role, and there never will be, as there can never be a version of representation that could work. Another said, this just isn't even on the agenda or being discussed in any way. Yeah, well, no shit. Anyone who has been watching this situation unfold, anybody who has been following this closely, knew that that was all BS. That was just more nonsense by Andrew's team. And at the end of the day, we knew that he was not coming back as a working royal. You think people were fired up when they were in front of the palace chanting for Andrew a few months ago or whatever? No. Let them try and have him as a working royal, and you'll really be kicking the viper's nest. A source close to Andrew did not deny he wanted to return to royal duties, but they told the Mail last night the Duke's future role can only be seriously considered once the legal process in the U.S. has been resolved and the Duke side of the story properly explained. Until then, the Duke is sensitive to the public mood and to the fact that the institution of the monarchy must come first. Oh yeah, he's so sensitive to that fact that he even started this fishing expedition. Way too soon, hasn't even spoken to authorities, and he starts a fishing expedition talking about how he's going to become a working royal again, huh? Yeah, that's not going to fly, sir. It was also today reported that Epstein survivors want Joe Biden to pursue the prince aggressively to force him to cooperate with the sex abuse probe. Well, I don't want to burst any bubbles here, but perhaps Joe Biden could start with Tara Reid. Lawyer Lisa Bloom, who represents 5 of the millionaire's victims, pedophiles, survivors, said she hoped the president-elect and his VP former prosecutor, Kamala Harris, would go after the prince. Again, please don't hold your breath. And remember, this is why we are here, why we're at where we are. Career politicians, folks. Career politicians and their toadies. What? I'm supposed to be happy with a choice like Ron Klain as chief of staff? Another Harvard disgustoid? I'm sorry, I'm not. And I told you to take a look at how this transition team formed out. And once again, it's the same old shit. There's nothing new here. The same old scoundrels who have been around Washington, D.C. forever, like Stengel, who admitted to using propaganda and says it's okay to use propaganda against his own people. These are the kind of people that we can look forward to in this new administration. Aren't you guys excited? Aren't you jubilant? It's all political theater. And you know what they say, right? Politics is show business for ugly people. She told the Mirror, I do have hope that the Biden-Harris administration will be more aggressive in standing with survivors of sexual assault. Me too. I have that hope too. But consider me skeptical, okay? With the Tara Reade situation hanging over President-elect Biden's head. That has not been addressed. The media did not dive into it. And here we are, right? But forget about that, because we didn't want to score political points for the other side. I'm so tired of it. I'm so fatigued by all of that bullshit. And I'm here to tell you folks that it is scorched earth policy for me. Both sides are going to be held accountable and to the same standards. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and his team are not impressing me so far with the people that they've gathered. And if anyone is expecting them to pursue Andrew, I would say you should probably tamper down those expectations. It's essential that Prince Andrew cooperate with authorities, as he said he would, so that they can fully investigate him and all others accused of enabling prolific predator Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's definitely true too. But let's remember also, according to the Washington Post, none other than Hillary Clinton is being thought about as the new UN ambassador. So, you mean to tell me that I should have confidence in this new administration to pursue Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators and enablers and friends like Bill Clinton himself, while at the same time Hillary Clinton is inhabiting a high-profile position such as UN ambassador? I'm sorry, folks, but that gaslighting shit is not going to work on me. And Joe Biden and his band of henchmen and his retreads that he's bringing in through this transition team are going to be held to the fire the same way this administration was, and the same way everybody who was involved in letting Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell fly under the radar have also been held accountable. So I am in a show me state, right? Let's see what they're willing to do. Let's see how hard they're willing to go. As of now, you can consider me skeptical. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. And to all of you who have supported the show and donated to the PayPal, thank you very much. I'll be back later on tonight, and we'll check in during the Daily Drop.